In my video about the robot dogs on Friday morning, I mentioned that I had a really big 2 days coming up, right? If you heard that, and I did, and I literally for the first time in my life asked for a prayer, and it was a simple prayer, and I hope some of you said it for me, and I think you did because the last 2 days have been better than expected and have continued. So I want to thank you for that. First of all, for those prayers. It means a lot to me, actually, because I know a lot of you did. I could feel it. So I really appreciate that. I want to talk today about jobs and the jab. And what I've been seeing on social media and on the news, I actually watched the morning news yesterday morning, Saturday morning news, for the first time with my own eyes, straight through for about a month. And I watched the local news early in the morning, about 6 a.m. And then I watched, I think it was the CBS This Morning or whatever it is on, the national broadcast. And holy cow, man, holy cow. Like I see bits and pieces here and there. And of course I get an overall idea of what's going on in general on Twitter and things like that. And really Twitter is where things kind of always start. Like I've said before, I know enough about reporters in that world to know that that's just what they do. Reporting is just mostly scraping information off of Twitter and reporting on it as breaking news, right? So I follow things on Twitter and, loosely on the news. I'll see blurbs and bits and pieces here and there, but never watch a full broadcast, including ads, all the way through. Whew, I tell you, a month, 2 months of taking a break from it, and it's shocking. It's shocking. It's glaring. It's gotten so bad that it was unrecognizable. Like a month ago, 2 months ago, it seemed like they were still trying to pretend on certain things and weren't. Now it's just like full bore, holy cow. Like all you hear is vaccine, 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 vaccine. And then, I guess it's Black History Month or something. I didn't see any white people at all, except for like the people, a couple of the broadcasters, but very few of those. And it's like every story, every single thing. And my goodness, like I'm telling you, if I was an African American or black or whatever, and I was watching this, I would be embarrassed. Like, what are they doing? Jeez, we're just like you. We don't need to be separated and segregated like this. It's like they're segregating again on the news. They're segregating. It's the opposite of progressivism or whatever you want to call it. It's segregation. It's segregating blacks. It's segregating whites. It's just separate. I've known that's been going on forever with the racial separation that they try to do. But my goodness, that it's gone next level. And I think if you follow it on a daily basis, I don't know how many of you do. I'm sure some. It's kind of like that frog in the boiling pot thing, and it just gets turned up slowly and slowly and slowly, and you don't really recognize how far it's gone, but you shut it off for a month or two and flip it back on. My goodness. It's not my world. It's not my world at all. And it's just hard to comprehend sometimes that is what people are taking in as reality, and it sure makes me understand things better. Yesterday I saw the craziest thing. If you really pay attention to the world around you at all times and just look and observe and take things in at all times, you'll see the craziest things going on that just are confirmation all the time of what media has done to our society. And so standing outside for about 5 minutes and downtown area or whatever, or suburb area, and I'm standing there, and I watched a girl, and I couldn't tell her age, anywhere from, 14 to 17, because she had 2 masks on, right? So you can't really see, and then a hat. But it was probably a younger girl. I don't know, maybe older, maybe 22, hard to tell. But I thought it to be like a teenage, And so she's on a bike, and she's got on 2 masks, and a backpack. And she comes to an intersection, that I'm standing there watching this whole thing. She comes to an intersection straight in my vision, and she stops and gets off the bike. Now, there's no traffic, none, anywhere at all whatsoever. But there is a stoplight with a walk sign and all that. But there's no traffic as far as the eye could see, nothing. So she gets off her bike, stands there, waits for the walk light to turn, or whatever. A good probably a minute and a half with no traffic anywhere. Finally walks her bike across the crosswalk, stands at the next intersection, does the same thing, still no traffic, none at all, walks her bike across that one, gets back on her bike, starts pedaling up a hill, right? And then realizes there's snow up there, so she comes back down to take a different route, but does the same thing as she came back through and just gets off her bike, because the law states that you're supposed to get off your bike and walk through an intersection, which I will tell you, by the way, one time about 4 or 5 years ago, I literally biked through an intersection and a cop pulled me over for that. So they will pull you over for that. They will. It's happened to me. And he harassed me. He wanted to search my bag, which had nothing in it. And I told him to piss off. He tried to ID me on my bike for biking through an intersection. And again, I told him to piss off. And it was hard, but eventually it worked. But anyway, so she comes back and she does the same thing. And walks her bike across and then gets back on her bike and pedals off it. So this whole process was about 5 minutes, where it should have taken her about 20 seconds to figure out where she needed to go and why. And all I could think the whole time was, my goodness, these kids, man, they are so conditioned to follow every single rule with the 2 masks, walking her bike across, waiting for the light to turn. She just didn't use any common sense at all. It's all out the window. And it was scary. I mean, it actually scared me. And I almost wanted to call out to her, hey, just live your life. Just live your life. But no, I don't think that would have mattered. She wouldn't have known what the hell I was saying, And so, you just see things like that all the time. When you really start to pay attention, it's sad. But what do you do? What do you do about it? Well, ultimately, you do what you can do, I think, if the moment is right. But it gets to the point as well where you just realize that's the world and that's not my world. And I'm out of it. I'm gone. I'm out. And that leads me to what I really want to talk about in this video is jobs and jabs. And what I'm realizing more and more, like really realizing that's where they're going to get you, with your job. Every time. Because they've spent our entire lifetimes, I'm 44, spent my entire lifetime, and our parents, teaching you from a very early age that your identity is tied in directly to what you do for a job. Ever since school, the whole point is, what are you going to do for a living? What brick are you going to fill in the wall? What cog are you going to play in the freak show system, right? And so, as our lives go on, I mean, we really tie our identity, our worth, our value into what we do for a living. And for women who do for a living parenting, they don't got to worry about this. That's the most important job in the world. And I don't say that to be cliche. It is by far the most important job in the world. I discussed that in a recent video. And so, you guys have the right job. You're doing the right job. And you don't got to worry about a jab for a job unless they say, well, you can't parent anymore without one. But good luck to them on that with you, right? So you don't have to worry about it. It's the rest of the world that ties their identity in with what they do for a living, for a paycheck, considers that to be who they are as a person. And now they're going to be confronted with a situation where they won't be allowed to do that job anymore without taking a jab. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be more than just like office workers and things like that. And I was having a discussion recently, and something hit me pretty hard with this, because I'm a freelancer, right? I'm a freelance writer. That's how I make my money for now. And through some donations and things like that, but that's very, very, very minuscule. And I was thinking, as a freelancer, you're pretty much safe. Like, I don't have to worry about getting a jab to write articles for third-party companies as a ghostwriter, because that's all I do. I'm a ghostwriter. So you'll never see my name on articles, but I've written thousands of articles across the internet. And people like me, honestly, have kind of ruined the internet because we're just spinning the same content over and over and over and over again for different websites, worded in different ways, but it's all the same crap, you know. So I'm burned out on doing that, but I'm still trying to do it. But we've ruined the internet because, you know, whatever. But, you know, I don't think I'll have to worry much about it in that particular. But then again, AI can take over my job in a heartbeat and do it better. I know it could already. AI could easily take a subject, right, and write a detailed article on it in a split second, whereas it takes me an hour, you know. So I have my own, you know, things where, you know, my living and what am I going to do? I know those things are all coming. But for the rest of, you know, most people, you know, you report to an employer who can dictate what you do in order to be employed. They can even, for example, marijuana may be legal in, say, Illinois, recreationally. However, your employer may say, well, I'm not hiring you if you test positive for marijuana, even if it's legal. It's just my rule, right? And so they can do that. They do it all the time. And people say, well, you could sue your employer over, you know, if they force you to take a jab, whatever. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I have no idea. Good luck winning in the court system. You saw the courts are all in this together with everybody else. So sue away. Have a good time. It's a waste of time. It's not the battle. It's not the battle at all. Suing for your job. That's not even a Band-Aid. That's like a used Band-Aid that you found on the ground, all dirty, and slapping that on your cut and saying, well, I'm going to fix this problem. I'm going to sue my employer. Give me a break. So in my mind, they can do what they want. If they want to demand that you get a jab to be employed, even if you work from home or whatever, they can do that easily. If you ever have to go to conferences or things like that or travel for work, they can do it. Who are you to say otherwise? Who are you to say no? You know, who are you to say no? I want to smoke marijuana. I don't care if you have that rule where I can't test positive. And no, they'll just fire you. So here's where the line is drawn. You know, and you think about what I think about all the time when it comes to jobs and the value that almost everybody puts into what they do for a living and how they tie it into their personal worth, worth as a human. You know, anytime you go to a party or go to a bar or meet somebody new or get introduced to somebody, what do they always ask you? What do you do? What do you do? What's your job? What do you do for a living? Or if, say a friend of yours is talking to you about, say, a guy she thinks you might be interested in or something, and what's your first question? You know, what does he look like? You know, what's his personality? What does he do? It's just natural. That's how we've been conditioned to think. And I think the reason we have is for right now. I think the reason for many reasons, it's to fit into, you know, like I said, the cog freak show that they've built for us to try to survive within. But also for right now, for this jab, for this entire agenda. This agenda is so important to them. They need us to take the jab. They need us to. And what's the one place they're going to get you? Your job. Every threat in the world can work, but when it comes to your job, your very identity, not to mention the thing that puts food on the table for the family, they come after you there. What are you going to do? And I think a lot of people are going to convince themselves, even if they've been very anti-jab this entire time, a lot of people are going to convince themselves, well, God wouldn't want my family to starve. And so they're going to go ahead and take the jab and just hope it's not that bad and then pray to God and say, God, please don't let this affect me in whatever way. I had to do it. And I tell you, you're done at that point. I'm not saying that you're done physically or anything like that. I have no idea. I'm saying you're done obediently. You're done. You've just given in. And that's why I think anybody who's taking this for any reason at all, no matter what excuse they make, they're done. They're gone. They're gone. Because they've crossed the line. They've crossed the line of obedience. It's a major test. That's why I kept telling people last spring, don't start wearing the mask no matter what. No matter if you tell me it's impossible to or not, don't wear it. I'm in an area right now where it's absolutely mandatory to wear it, absolutely everywhere. And I walked into a place yesterday, and nobody said anything. Nobody said anything at all. You know, I just didn't play the game. So why everybody didn't do that back then, I'll never understand. I'll never understand, man. I was harping on that like a madman with a much, 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 much larger audience last year under Beast System Revealed. Hundreds of thousands of people listening to me, and it didn't matter. You know, everybody just, well, I just got to do what I got to do. I got to go buy food, you know. Well, I'm over here. I'm like, I'm buying food, and I'm not doing it. So I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're not making sense. I think you're watching too many Twitter videos of people getting harassed and think that's reality. And in reality, I've never put one on and I'm not getting harassed. So which is it, you know? And if I ever did get harassed, I was always prepared. I always had one in my pocket. You know, I'm an asshole, but I'm not an absolute asshole. And if it was something I absolutely needed or was mandatory, I'd just put it on for a second or whatever, make whoever happy, take it right back off. If I didn't want to if I didn't want to talk about the issue or just make a scene, you know, because that's not healthy either. So, you know, I was always prepared, always am, but I just kept saying, you make that first step of obedience, which was the mask, that first step, I'm like, they'll find a way to get to you with the jab. If they found a way to get to you with the mask, they'll find a way to get to you with the jab, and that's going to be your job. It's going to be your job. I promise you. I promise you it will be. That's where they'll get you. You know, and as if it isn't enough. Oh, man. You know, the things you put up with, I'd say we, but I don't. I got out of that world 6 years ago. The things you put up with from a job just to stay employed are insane. Like, how much diversity training have they been putting you through in the last year? Have they been? I bet you they have. If you have an office type job or a home office type job, I bet you're watching videos from your employer on diversity training, on white privilege, on demeaning you if you're a white person, you know. And what the hell is even a white person? This whole thing is so stupid. You understand there's no such thing as a white person either. Anymore as just a black person. The black people, you know, maybe stemmed from, you know, black people stem from Africa, but they were all from different nations, different tribes. All different. Listen, Africa's not one big thing. It's a bunch of different nations, a bunch of different tribes. Same with Europe. Bunch of nations. White people hated each other in Europe. White people, you know, Irish and whomever, you know, my goodness. You know, and when they all emigrated here, before black people were here, or any people that weren't of whatever color this skin is, I call it more pink, right? I mean, we're not white. Since when am I white? I don't know what it is. I'm of color. You know, I've got a color to me. I just don't know really what to call it. But there's no such thing. There's no one white race. There's no one white race. It's insane. I'm so tired of it. It's such bullshit. Like, there's a bunch of different nations, a bunch of different cultures. And when they all immigrated here, like in Wisconsin, where I'm from, the Polish and the Germans and the, you know, Irish, and they fought all the time back in the day. Like, they were enemies because their cultures didn't mesh. It's all about culture. It's always been about culture. Culture and class, really. And certain classes, you know, that dominate all the cultures, and twist all the cultures and make the cultures battle with each other. And it's just no different. So the diversity training and all that bullshit you're going through at work and all that, and you just deal with it because you're like, well, I got to have a job. And no matter what job I go to, they're going to make me go through this. And that's exactly right. And no matter what job you go to, you're going to have to get a jab eventually. Or it's going to be taken away with AI very soon. So getting a jab for this little temporary fix, just to keep a paycheck coming in for a little bit longer, you're done. You're on the slippery slope, and it's beyond. You just slip down, and now the snowballing starts. That's where you're at. If you're listening to this and you've taken one or two, I'd be shocked if you're listening to this. If you are, man, get on your knees right now. Repent for what you've done, for disobeying God and letting this witchcraft enter your body, because that's what happened. I don't know what's all in that thing, but I know for one thing for certain, it's witchcraft. It's witchcraft that's in your body. In the name of Jesus, remove that from your body. In the name of Jesus, remove that from your body. You know, because that is your that your soul, your eternal soul, you're toying with. I'd pray real hard. I'd listen to God. I'd listen close to what he has to say to you. If you've taken that and you're listening to this, I hope there's someone. But if you haven't taken it, you're gonna and you have a traditional job. That's where you're gonna, I think, first be confronted with it. And I've seen it. I've seen it already for a lot of people, and they've caved. They've caved to it because it's my job. My suggestion: spend some time in prayer for real about this exact particular situation, because I think God will impress on your heart what you need to do, what exactly you need to do. So I think God is dealing with us all very differently right now and impressing on our hearts individually what we need to do, specifics. And he's speaking loudly right now, so loudly that if you don't listen, things are going to go like crap for you. You have to listen. He's going to lead you in a different path. I don't know what that is. You know, what I was talking about with freelancing and me, like, okay, so AI can easily get me. Well, then I was thinking about how many like independent contractors and builders and things like that are out there, and you probably feel kind of safe. So, you know, say you do construction and you just kind of do it on your own, independent, cash, things like that. And you're like, well, I'm not at risk. I don't work for anybody. Nobody can force me to do anything. Well, guess what could happen with that? Say the state passes a law that you can't be on a job site, on any job site, without a jab. Well, there goes that. There goes being independent. You're not anymore. State still got to you, you know. So you can see how many different ways they can get to you this way. And I don't think the vaccine, the jab, will ever be quote unquote mandatory from the government. I just don't think they want to do it that way at all. They just use the other corporations, the government itself, the United States government being a corporation, and then all the other corporations that bow down to it, including the one you work for. You know, they just use that to filter the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. So I don't know the answer exactly for, you know, you got to get out of your job to avoid the jab. How's God going to provide? You know, what's going to happen? But he will. I know he will. You know, a good friend of mine has a real good thing going, totally under the table, basically. Good money, cash only, you know, and no way that there'll probably be a jab involved in that. So there's always ways you can do things. You just really have to, this new world we're entering, or that we've entered, will require new ways of thinking about how to provide. It's not by going to a corporation and serving the corporation and receiving peanuts for them for your time. It's not what the new world is going to be at all. It's going to be about having what you need, like it always used to be for people, for humans. Having what you need, doing what you needed to get it, trading, bartering, using skills that you have to get what you need. So that you can't be controlled by a system that can literally pull any string it wants to tell you what you need to do to continue to operate within that system. Right now, it might be the jab, you know, the first one, and then the follow-up one, and then 6 months from now, new strain. Now you need a new one. And what are they doing to me this entire time? What are they turning my body into? What are you putting inside of me? And I think every single time separates people farther and farther and farther and farther from their creator until there's something that's not what their creator made them anymore. And I really believe that. This is not a vaccine. It's gene therapy. And that's a scientific fact. You can look it up for yourself. It's not a vaccine. It's genetic therapy. It's experimental genetic therapy. You understand? That they want to put in everybody. Experimental genetic therapy that they want to put into everybody. And your employer wants to make it compulsory for you to have a job. Tell me something might not be wrong here. It just doesn't quite add up to me, right? Like none of this has from day one when Tom Hanks was so excited and giddy with his Corona typewriter on Twitter that he had the coronavirus. Since day one, right? It's all been about this genetic therapy. So my best advice is to seek God heavily on this one thing. How am I going to provide for my family? I'm not going to get the jab no matter what, for any job at all, but I need to provide for myself, for my family. How am I going to do that? And I think he's going to speak to us. I think he's going to make some things obvious. Personally, right now, I'm not 100% sure myself. I don't know. But what I do know is I do have faith. And I do know my whole life, he's proven to me over and over and over again that I'll get you through. And he always has. He's gotten me through some impossible things. Some things I'll talk about someday, I think. Maybe. Impossible things. Things I wouldn't wish on anybody. That I don't know anybody that's ever gone through ever. Okay? And even on TV or in a movie. And God got me through all that and made me stronger in the process. So he's built through the years my faith in him to carry me through. And that's why I feel like, even though I don't have all the answers right now for my life, through the whole last year, God's just been telling me, you'll know what you need to do when you need to do it. And so far, he's been spot on. Shocking, right? God's been spot on. But he has. And the decisions have been easy when they've come. And they've been right every time. And so will this time. So he will be for you too. It's about seeking him first. Seeking him, and all things will be added. And so I on this Sunday, I think is a good day to maybe spend some time doing that. And because you never know, this might be the week that your employer comes to you and says, well, you got 2 weeks to decide, So anyway, God bless you on this Sunday. I got a couple more videos coming at you today. I'm not sure when I'm going to get all of these uploaded. Hopefully, I can figure out how to do it. I'm in an area actually with no Wi-Fi. How cool is that? I don't have any Wi-Fi here. I love it. But I might just connect like my phone data to my laptop and upload these that way. That's my plan. So hopefully that works. If not, you might get 3 or 4 uploads right in a row. But I got a couple more things I want to talk about today, and we will speak soon. Okay. So have a good rest of your morning, and we'll talk this afternoon. Peace.